Leading up to the MonWHO conference on corruption next week, AlJazeera presents a special investigation into corruption in healthcare systems around the world.
Here at the Montreal World Health Organization Summit, many concerns have arisen within the European regional bloc. Turkey said that they want to place a focus and interest on counterfeit drugs, while Ireland is primarily concerned with safe whistleblowing. The delegate from Italy seems more concerned with discussing corruption in other less developed countries than his own, and said that they give so much money to international aid that their main concern is making sure this aid is free from corruption. On the receiving end of this is Afghanistan, who is very aware that their dependence on foreign aid is affecting their corruption within their nation. Here with Priyank from Saudi Arabia. In our Europe bloc, there seems to be a lot of conflict between the differences between non-developed and developed countries and how they should approach corruption differently. Specifically, there's been some tension between you and Italy. How do your opinions differ?
So basically, the difference between what Italy is trying to propose and what I'm trying to propose is whether countries should move towards being more independent or whether they should keep their dependence on foreign aid, whether it be with NGOs or other countries. What I've been trying to propose, not very aggressively against Italy, but just as a counter-proposal, is that there should be put in measures in place so that countries become more more independent on their own as they're receiving their help from NGOs and other countries.
Thank you, Priyank. I'm Louise, here with AlJazeera News.
Debate got off to a fast start with ideological divides quickly emerging in the European bloc. We go to AlJazeera for more.
The main discussion in the European regional bloc was regarding the pharmaceutical supply chain. There was a question and answer session where Turkey, Luxembourg, and Belgium answered to some tough questions about their working paper. A lot of the answers depended on the responses of the big pharmaceutical companies and what their interests were. This reporter saw Merck, GSK, and Pfizer working closely together to make sure their interests are included in the clauses being voted on by the delegates. The drug companies are seeking partnerships with governments to supply their brand name drugs, but many countries, including Saudi Arabia, believe that education on drugs is the most important factor and that generic drugs should not be pushed aside for these brand names. Many delegates will likely vote how the pharmaceutical companies advise them to, in order to earn the seal of approval. However, wealthy countries such as Qatar and Saudi Arabia have the resources and knowledge to produce their own generic drugs for lower prices. Good afternoon. I'm Louise Chong, here with AlJazeera, and I'm here with Gloria To from Pfizer. It seems as though the big three pharma companies have been making an alliance and really trying to push their interests onto the working papers. What are you looking for the delegates to include?
Personally, as a representative from Pfizer, we are really looking for delegates to act upon a principle of honesty and ethics. We really want to push the topic of transparency.
The company is not against generic drugs being used in these less developed countries who can maybe not afford the brand name drugs.
We're absolutely not against accessibility or generic drugs. What we do ask is that guidance is provided to those who are in charge of making these products, and this is something that Pfizer is absolutely willing to be able to do.
The major story here at MonWHO on this Saturday afternoon seems to be the war between brand name and generic drugs, and more specifically, how the delegates are planning on earning the seals of approval while standing up for their country's rights and beliefs. I'm Louise Chong, here with AlJazeera, and I'm here with Peter from Japan. Why do you think that the pharmaceutical companies are so invested in the Asian bloc and not the others?
Well, I think frankly their negotiating tactics with our bloc has been completely unfair, and it's unprecedented. The fact that these three major pharmaceutical companies are working together with a generic drug company is something that's unheard of in the international community.
Can you name these companies?
I know Merck is one, GSK is another, and I believe Pfizer is the third, and then
The three big drug companies, Merck, GSK, and Pfizer, seem to be in private conversations for many parts of the afternoon. They proposed that the delegates include a clause in their drafts that would extend the patent length of their brand name drugs, which would drastically increase their power and profits. Countries such as Bangladesh have been promoting domestic industry and trying to support their own drug manufacturing industry, and this is why they oppose this clause. For a while, the delegates seemed interested in order to earn their seal of approval. However, emotions changed by the end of the day, and the companies have since had to reel in their proposal. The delegate from China spoke earlier with me today regarding his alliance formed with Brazil and Russia that was perceived as aggressive by some.
We have had many relations with Russia before, with India before, and honestly, our economies have the same interests. Our interests are pretty much the same, and making sure that certain resolutions are not passed that would be harmful to our economy.
These discussions with various delegates has confirmed to me that there is a disagreement with the pharmaceutical companies, but the regional blocs are working hard to compromise in order to earn the prestigious seal of approval. We will see how talks proceed and if the papers will satisfy the drug companies as well as the delegates. On the Sunday afternoon at MonWHO, filled with plenary sessions, papers were debated and regions worked together to merge their working papers. Tensions arose between some of the delegates surrounding corruption, note sending, and the calling out during discussions.
I'm Darcy. I'm representing the great nation of Cameroon. This weekend went pretty well. It was hindered a lot by Somalia's corruption, from everything from holding delegates hostage to signing fake notes, just causing a lot of problems for everyone. And we need to really watch out for Somalia.
I also talked with Sophia from Turkey, who was slightly upset with her treatment during the discussion.
For the most part, it was a smooth process. We had lots of strong support from Asian countries and African countries, with the exception of Brazil. When we decided that we were going to remove the bidding system just due to discussions yesterday and the general feeling within the plenary session, she got very agitated and actually started to shout at me.
The politics and relationships have made this conference difficult for delegates to explain and convey their ideas. This is part of the process, however, and papers are slowly being written and finalized. This is Louise Chong for AlJazeera News.